welcome. It is day 5, focus and flow. So thank you for joining me. When we understand that our lives are created through our own action, that we manifest what we actually have in our life today, and what we hope for, dream for, move towards more of tomorrow. And then we should feel empowered, that we actually do have influence into what we have in our lives and what we manifest. And what exactly is manifesting? Well, our subconscious brain is very malleable. It actually believes everything that we say and helps us move towards it. So imagine if we were to install a belief of our own success into our subconscious mind by really understanding what that manifestation means, by giving it a shape, a color, a texture, an odor, how it feels like, what does it look like, where are we standing, what do our bodies feel like inside, on the outside, and knowing everything about what that success actually feels like. And we're going to move through that today. But let's do a quick review so that we can, in a snapshot, find out what focus and flow is all about. So we actually restructure our brain every time we learn something. It's like defragmenting, so organizing our mind, but also creating a new, more developed way of thinking. And we understand that our brain works in small portions of time, that like your cell phone needs to be recharged, otherwise it's not going to work. We also have to recharge our mind. So after 60 to 90 minutes maximum of focused time, we need to have some flow time, which is the relaxed recharge time. Our brain requires, it's like a quick recharge, during which time we are extremely inventive and creative. So not that our brain isn't functioning during this period of time, it's just that it functions differently. And different parts of our brain function at different times of the day. And we're in different brain waves at different times of the day. So once we've lost our charge, what it means is our mind has lost capacity to do a deep focus. So in this tired time for our neocortex, it actually expands the way that it works. No longer questioning and focusing in on a more direct focus. So it becomes creative. We actually become more in a dynamic form of thinking, outside the box, if you want to call it that. But we can interrupt this entire process through stress. And we know that a developing brain is affected by stress, so children have a difficult time learning when they're under stress, but also that stress is the leading indicator for heart disease and kills more people on the planet than any other cause. It's actually implicated in almost every illness that we have. So we have to understand that stress affects our lives and give ourselves tools, real life tools, in order to reduce the stress in our lives. And for those that do nap in the afternoon, you're doing the right thing, because this little 20-minute recharge, cat naps if you want to call it that, improve our performance dramatically and increases our capacity to store information so that it's not erased. So think about these little cat naps, little 20 minutes to half an hour brain recharge moments, as actually improving the way our brain functions and stores information. Things also that help us is multimedia. Watching a video, for example, actually retains far more information than strictly an audio, unless we're really getting the feeling behind it. We're seeing and viewing what we're actually hearing with our ears. So for our children learning, we want to give them as many tools as they want. And of course, when we understand that we all learn differently and have different capacities to learn according to our sensory intake of the world. So some children are going to be more auditory. These are the kids that are listening to their headphones all the time, versus the kids that are reading a book are probably more visual. So we want to, the kids that are doing Lego are probably more kinesthetic. Those are the three strongest representational styles for how our children learn and how we intake the expression of our world every single day is what we see, hear, taste, smell, and feel emotionally and kinesthetically. So once we understand that, we can move towards our higher goals by giving our brains more of the types of input that it naturally excels with. We know that we can reduce our stress and increase our creativity and our ability to function through exercise. So these are just the simple things that we naturally engage in. And then we move into how our brain actually moves towards our goal. What we focus our attention on actually is what we move towards. And I gave the analogy of the Tetris Effect. There's games that actually, thank you for joining, there's games that actually influence us called Tetra. So as we understand that our brains move towards what we focus on, what we focus our attention on, then we begin to understand how we're moving, right? So if we're focused on things that are going wrong in our world, understand that just like when you search for something that you want to purchase on the internet, and that algorithm runs in the back of the internet, and all of a sudden on the right-hand side of the screen, you see all the things that you've been searching for. Well, imagine that the same thing is happening inside your mind. That when you are having a bad day, and if you're having a bad month, or even the things that we become experts on, police officers, firemen, accountants, imagine the work that you become experts on. If your expertise makes you look for what is wrong in your environment, know that that's going to bleed into your personal life. So if you're always looking for mistakes, you're looking for danger, you're looking for what's wrong and what's dishonest in the world, you're going to find it in your partner, in your workplace, and in your children. So empower yourself to know that this sort of expertise thinking could interfere with your relationships. So this is the idea of Tetris, is what we see in our world, we become more of. So when we're looking, for example, at a mindset of negativity, this is what shows up in our grocery stores. When we go to the mall, when we go and buy a new house, we see the negative things about what could go wrong, rather than practicing gratitude, thinking positively. This is the essence of positive thinking, is that we build an algorithm within our brain that focuses our mind towards seeing what is good in the world, where we move towards the positivity. And why this is important is when we are open to positivity, when we are grateful for the things that we have in our life, we see more of it. But also, our brain sources more in the direction of our dreams, allows us to open the possibility and potential for greatness in our lives because we are more open to what we see in our world today. And we become blind to those same things if we're focused in a negative direction. And this becomes important because if we begin to see the cycles that show up in our lives, by the things that bother us, when something bugs us, when something irritates us, it becomes a gift. It becomes a gift because then we know that something in our past has created a trigger that is creating a mindset within us which forms a filter. So imagine all of the negative events in our lives gets these, what I call, sticky neuropeptides. It creates a negative attachment to an old memory in our life, but it's not stuck in the past. It's actually sabotaging everything about our future, everything about our day. Because imagine that all of those bad events, all of those negative events go into a big soup pot. They become the vegetables, they become the sauce, they become the soup of life. And then imagine just stepping into that big soup pot and carrying it around with you all day long. And imagine now that the soup pot is so big and so soupy and that you're underwater. You feel like you're drowning. But imagine trying to see through this mucky soup. So when we take care of business, when we do the work, when we actually take the time to understand that our minds are never meant to live in the pain, we can reduce the soup, we can drain the pot, we can actually remove the plug like we do in our bathtubs and allow all of that crap to move away so that we can stand freely in the world. And I tell you, that's one of the most common things that I hear from my clients is that they feel lighter. And I had a beautiful session with a 14-year-old ADHD labeled boy who is the most charming young man I've ever met. And he is so delightful that every time that we do a session, he's like, oh, I feel so light. I feel so free. And he makes me giggle because this is the way life should be. And when you hear the expression and the gratitude of releasing pain or releasing a self-limiting belief and how that makes your body want to float or levitate because you just feel so light, then why not do that? Because our lives are meant to be lived freely and openly. And that's why I do what I do, because I love to see the change in people. I love to see that the freedom is there, the lightness is there, and that doesn't just last for a day, it lasts for a lifetime. And it brings me so much joy to be able to do that. So this is the filter. We've created it over a lifetime of all of those little events in life that hurt our feelings, that made us feel bad. The 5 most common emotions that get stuck in the human body, imagine: hurt, sadness, guilt. They're so generic. So anyway, I'll leave them in the little thing. They're so generic that you can see how they spiderweb throughout our lives. So then we need to learn how to reform the patterns of excellence that move us towards what we desire in our lives. So we want to add one more thing, and we do this within a really cool bunch of habits that we already have. So I gave the idea of when you get up in the morning and your feet hit the floor, what do? You have a routine. These are actually habits that we've stacked. I gave the idea of my own, that my feet hit the floor, I walk through the kitchen, I turn on the cappuccino machine, walk through into the living room, turn off my cell phone that's ringing my little morning message to wake up, turn around. I put a fire in the fireplace if it's winter time. Then I move back into the kitchen. I grab 3 spoons, 2 cups of coffee, the coffee urns, and I begin to make morning coffee. When the morning coffee starts wafting through the air, my husband smells it in the bedroom, and he knows it's time to get up. So these are the sequences that we have. We have them in the shower. We have them when we get to work. We have them before we leave our house in the morning. So what we want to do is add one more habit. We call it habit stacking. And we don't want to add too many in a row because they then become, it takes time to form a habit. So we just want to add one more habit stack at a time until it becomes part of our routine. And then we can continue to add. Just like when you go to the gym, you have another muscle group that you want to add some more oomph to. So you add one more little thing to your gym routine. And this is a habit stack. Now I'm going to give you a very, very cool habit stack. And I practice this morning and night. So this is called Theta Brainwave. And we all pass through theta, and most children are in theta because it's a subconscious brain process. So now you get how fast they learn. They hear a new word they've never heard before, and the radar goes up. They look at you, and they start to repeat the word until they get the syntax correct. They actually understand the meaning of it. Children are in download. This brain is functioning at 120,000 miles per hour and 40,000 bits of information per second. Everything they see, hear, taste, smell, or feel kinesthetically or emotionally. They are in download, and we are in download when we're in REM, when we're in light sleep. And just as we drop off to sleep and just as we wake up, we naturally go through these different brain waves. So this is the time. I gave the picture of what Einstein used to do. You know, the guy was brilliant, and he was extremely inventive and creative. And that's what this brainwave is known for. Receptivity, because the neocortex is sleeping and the subconscious brain is in download. So imagine Einstein. He sat with this big Tibetan bowl, music bowl, on his lap, and he had this little bong, paddle, or wand in his hand. And what he would do is he would meditate. So he would start to slow his breath, probably using 5-5-7 breathing, which is 5 seconds on the way in, hold your breath for 5 seconds, and exhale for 7. Why this is important is because it tricks our brain into thinking that we're lying on a beach in Hawaii. What could be more relaxing than that? Listening to the waves, feeling the heat of the sand on our bodies, the wind wafting over us, bringing this perfect temperature as the sun warms us up. So this is how we trick our brain, is simply by breathing in a rhythm of 5-5-7. And then we can feel ourselves naturally relax. And when we do that, what happens? In Einstein's world, it was that he would start to fall asleep, and he would start to fall forward on the chair he was sitting on. And as his body slipped forward, this little wand would hit this Tibetan singing bowl, boing, and it would ring out in the air, waking him just enough, but not totally out of a dream state. And this is where he would create these amazing, amazing inventions. So this is the idea of theta, being the most creative mind boost that we can give ourselves. And so I encourage you, I do my gratitude practice at night just before I go to bed. It's part of my stacking routine. And I give gratitude for everything that I have in my life. And it might sound like a lot, but I ask you, if what you were grateful for today was the only thing you had in your world tomorrow, what would that be? And in the morning, as I'm just rising out of that sleep state, my alarm hasn't quite gone off, so I'm wafting in and out of that dream state, I set my intention for what I want in my life tomorrow. And it's not a simple affirmation, because our subconscious brain is believing us. But it believes us because it has had the experience that this is actually real. And how we make that real within the brain is that we give it the sensory identity that your mind understands. So I give it a shape, a color, a texture, an odor, a movement. I picture myself in the future exactly how I want my dream to become. I have a habit stack within that affirmation of creating the reality of my future today. And that's the difference between an affirmation and manifestation. Because once our brain believes that it is true, then it will action. It will create action in me today to move me towards the belief of what I already know to be true inside my subconscious mind. So that is manifestation. It's not wishful thinking. It's creating the building blocks within the mind, the habit stack within our day, a momentum of reality within my world that moves me towards the life that I want for myself today and tomorrow. I really thank you for joining me for Focus and Flow, because this builds freedom. Freedom for each one of us to really live the life that we want for ourselves. If you want a conversation, you can check it right into my website, hit that little virtual coffee sign. We can have a conversation, and I love to have conversations. It's free. Let's figure it out. And until we speak in person, my name is Adele Anderson from lifecoachadele.com, and I wish you a fabulous day. Thank you for joining me. Bye now.